Good morning, everyone. We're continuing in the book Rosa de Shabbos. We're on page Chaf Ches. We're in the middle of an essay. We're going to almost start section Beis. It's a very hard essay, and Hashem should help us to understand this as well as we can. And last week we talked about this idea of revealing the oneness of Hashem. And we basically said that within HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have, and within a person as well, you have very many forces that can be released. And when forces are released, there seems to show a disunity. But when you stop producing the force comes back to itself, to the root, and in the root everything is one. Now, this is what we're able to experience on Shabbos. When Hashem rested on Shabbos, what he really is showing is that all the different energies that are coming out really is in one source, and there's a cohesiveness over there. And that's something that can be appreciated because there's a lot of conflicting forces that you make it difficult for you to appreciate Hashem. And when the Shabbos comes and it stops, it's all able to draw itself back inside. The same thing, we're obliged to do the same thing as well. We have to emulate Hashem. And during the week we engage many forces, we do many different things, and we see a lot of self-conflict within our life. And therefore when we stop on Shabbos and everything comes back, and then we see it really comes back to one positive source as well, and don't feel as conflicted. That was the basic message we spoke about last week. Now, on the bottom of Chaf Ches, under the line, there's a very important footnote that helps us, that's worth to go through, that explains and how this plays itself out at different times on Shabbos. So I'm going to go to that little footnote Aleph. If you notice on page Chaf Ches, on Chaf Ches, it's the right-hand side of the page. Yeah, here, the footnote. Footnote in Aleph. He says like this: Ulefiza, based on what we explained, Yuvan Nusach Tfilas Mincha de Shabbos. You understand the Shabbos Mincha prayer. Now, we know the following. We know that the patriarchs instituted the prayers. Avram instituted Shachris, Yitzchak instituted Mincha, and Yaakov instituted Mariv. Avram tikkun tefillah Shachris, Yitzchak tefillah Mincha, Yaakov tefillah Saras. We move on, and it's understood. The lo rak shekol echad min avos hosif tefillah b'echad misman hayom. It's understood that it wasn't just only that the patriarchs added another prayer in the time of the day, but more so, their own personal nature and conduct of themselves were appropriate for that time of the day. As the Rabbi said, like the Medrash, for example, this man mincha huzman din. The time of mincha, the time of the afternoon, is a time of judgment. That's mystically a time of judgment. And we know that the attribute of justice, Yitzchak is the attribute of justice. Shenemer says, the fear of Hashem was to me. So the patriarchs, Avram represents kindness. The beginning of the day is kindness. The sun is rising. A new day is happy. That's kindness. Different attributes come through. So Mincha, the afternoon, is the time of justice. And that's Yitzchak. So the patriarchs designated prayers that fit to their type of personalities, and their personality was be reflecting in that time of day. Now, we know that when Hashem has to exercise judgment, that causes different conducts from Hashem. Like it says in the Gemara. The al Bisura Tova, for example, Mavarcha Tova Meti. For example, if you hear good news, good thing happens, you win the lottery, you make a bracha Tova Meti. Hashem is good and he does good. On the other hand, Val Bisura Ra, on bad news, Mavarach Dayan Emes, you make the blessing, he is the true judge. And that's all part of God's justice system. God judged you should have something good, God judged you something bad. Justice isn't only punishment. Justice is also deciding to give good. That's part of justice. Hashem did not make a system of justice just to punish us. Justice means I judge people based on what they do. People do something good, I give them a reward. They do something bad, I give them a punishment. And we make different brachos reflecting that. But again, that only works. That's only in our world that works with the system of justice. And therefore, then there's going to be, and there's differences in how God conducts himself. Yesh chesed, yesh din. There's kindness and there's justice. Right? Some of the judgments end up being kind, and some of the judgments end up being difficult. But you got to thank Hashem for both. So if to me it looks like Hashem has been kind to me, I say Atov Ametiv. If he's been very strict with me, I say you're the true judge. I will sing out your kindness and your judgments. That's in this world. But what happens in the next world? We never, in the next world, we'll never see Hashem's justice looked at as a punishment or the left pushing away. Why? Because in that world, we'll know that everything was really good. We'll see that everything was a chesed. Will only make the blessing that you were good. When we reflect back on even bad times in our life, in the times of the next world, we will say Hatov Ameti, because we'll live in the perspective of understanding how good it was. And then it'll come out there was no conflict in how God conducted himself. Again, what he's saying is that when God has to exercise any kind of judgment, it will show different colors, different flavors. If God is judging a person who's done something good, then something good's going to happen to the person. Judging someone who did something bad, something bad's going to happen. And everybody, things look different. In the next world, everything is going to look as always kindness. So now, when we're davening Mincha and Shabbos, now normal Mincha during the week, we see a lot of conflict. We're looking, this is a time of judgment, and there's all kinds of conflict. But on Shabbos, this is the Kiddush, the insight. So what do we say? What's the main idea of the Shabbos Mincha Shmona Esrei? Every prayer has a theme. What's the theme of the Mincha prayer? Ata echad v'shimcha echad. You are one and your name is one. What does it mean Hashem's name is one? If we say you're one, then of course your name is one. The answer is, what you are is what you are. What your name is how others perceive you. Whereas, why do we need to have a name? Why does your name have to be Izzy? You don't have to call you anything. If you live on a desert island and you're the only person on the island, you wouldn't need a name. Nobody's calling you. We need a name only insofar as how should other people discriminate to know that it's me that they're talking to, not somebody else. So give me a name. I know who you are. So a name isn't just who you are. A name is how others perceive you. So now, Hashem is one. Hashem is for sure one. But do people perceive Hashem as one in this world? Absolutely not. They perceive Hashem as anything but one. They see so many different aspects of Hashem, it doesn't look like one. But when we say, in the end of Sukkah Zimra, Vayu Hashem Malach Haaretz Bayom Hahu Yeh Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad. The end of Aleinu. Hashem, in that day when Mashiach comes, Hashem will be one and his name will be one, means the world will perceive him as one. And we'll see that everything Hashem did was just one kindness, one after the other. And that's what the Mincha prayer is. Ata echad v'shimcha echad. Your name, you are one and your name is one. We perceive you as one. The Iker Sugyas HaIchud, the Shabbos, that the main topic of the unity of Shabbos Shabbayarnu, Mudgash, what is it mainly? We said the whole Shabbos is one. But when can you tell that it really has impacted on the day more than any other time? By Mincha and Shabbos. Because by nature, the time of Mincha is the one of disunity. Because it's a time of judgment. And when judgment happens, it comes across in so many different ways. And we're saying, Shebizman Mincha, hu ikar hanigud l'sugya sa'echad. Usually Mincha is the primary opposition to the oneness of Hashem. Vim kol zeh, but still no. B'Shabbos, on Shabbos, hakol misached, everything is unified. Afilu b'zman hapirud, even in the times of separateness. Kanu toikef hanhogas ha'echad Shabbos. That's the power of the conduct of one on Shabbos. So you see, that's why we say Ata Echad V'Shimcha Echad. In the time of day that on a Wednesday you would see so much differences, because God's judgment, everything gets judged in a way. Sometimes looks good, sometimes looks bad. But when we enter the world of Shabbos, which is a taste of the world to come, B'dafka at that time we say Hashem is one and His name is one, where we come to be, that's the best time where you can begin to see Hashem's unified whole, and to begin to see that the judgments that Hashem has done against you maybe aren't so bad after all. And that's why as well, that's why we have Shalosh Shudas. And again, the idea of Shalosh Shudas, it should be that the Kehillah is together. You want to be Makayim, the pasuk of Shevas Achim Gam Yachad, the brothers sitting together. Again, when you have Shabbos, when this one goes to his house, and this one goes to his house, and this one goes to his house, and that house, that's disunity. You want to show Achdus, you want to show unity. Because remember, Hashem has unity. So if Hashem has unity, we want to show the unity on Shabbos. And so, but Dafka Shalosh Shudas is something, Friday night, Shabbos lunch, everyone eats in their own house.
And the Tish.
Yeah, you have your own house. Okay, a Tish is different, because a Tish you have every meal, you go to the Rebbe for a Tish. But we're saying even without a Tish, we're just saying Shalosh Shudas is a time to unify people, because that's what Hashem's name is, being unified. So that's what we're saying, this is where it's most expressed. So you could have said Hashem is one, His name is one Friday night, Shabbos morning, but that wouldn't be such a big insight, because that's not a time of day that you see so much disunity. But normally on a weekday mincha you see a lot of disunity. So now we're saying, but on Shabbos all the energies come back to Hashem, and you're able to appreciate the unity of all that. Okay, we skipped the bracket, and we've done that. That was a very good footnote to do. Okay, so now we have to take this idea of unity in Shabbos and bring it now into a Talmud Chacham. So now back upstairs by the bays on page Chavches. And by the time we get done today, we're going to see how also having children is part of unity. So it's all part of unity here. We'll see. Remember, unity is something that is not readily observable. Unity is something within Hashem and within us. At the surface, it looks like a lot of disunity. Only when you allow everything to come back, you see it's all coming from one good place, one unified whole. So let's keep up this idea. Nisbar b'Nefesh HaChaim, the Reb Chaim Voloshin in his work Nefesh HaChaim explains the following. Malas HaTorah me'al kol mitzvahs. He explains why the virtue of Torah is beyond the virtue of every other mitzvah. And he explains as follows. The Torah hu kiyum ha'olam. Torah is the basis of the maintenance of the entire world. The shar kol mitzvahs heim tikkun ha'olam. Doing the other mitzvahs are repairs to the world. He makes the distinction between repairs to the world and maintaining a world. Shekol mitzvah mitakenes as tikkuna ba'olamos. That every mitzvah makes its unique correction in the worlds that it's meant to correct. Kol Shabir Shamas explains over there in great detail. But, so in other words, you do one mitzvah, there's one aspect of creation that's fixed up, because there's lots of different aspects of creation. However, the Eisek HaTorah, when you're learning Torah, who Eisek B'Shmo Yisbarach Yuchad, now you're engaged not just in any one aspect, but you're engaged with the unified name of Hashem. In other words, just like you have Torah. Torah is God's wholesome understanding of what He is. It's the name of Hashem. Every letter is the name of Hashem. That's what Torah is. Torah is the source. Torah is the source of Hashem. The mitzvahs are coming out of the source. And from out of the source, this looks like many different flavors. So when you're engaged in a mitzvah, you could do a lot of, here's the point, you could do a lot of mitzvahs, and you're still all over the place. You're doing one mitzvah, it makes a tikkun on this. In a mitzvah, there's a tikkun on this. In a mitzvah, there's a tikkun on this. So you're dealing with all the external tikkunim, correction you have to make in the world. But to get to the heart and the source of it all, that's Torah. So when a person is learning Torah, he is engaging in the unique name of Hashem. And he explains with this. When you learn Torah, you're learning the topic of the unity of Hashem, and you're engaged in the unity of Hashem literally. Not when you're doing mitzvahs, because every mitzvah is one different from the other. Remember, what does the pasuk say? Ki ner mitzvah v'toira or. What does that mean? Ki ner mitzvah v'Torah or. A mitzvah is a candle, but Torah is fire. How do you understand the difference? Well, fire is like the source. Let's say a fire. A big bonfire. Okay. Now it's very powerful fire. Very powerful fire. And it's the source of all the fire. Now, that source is powerful, but only lights if you're near the bonfire. What if I'm a mile away? I'm not going to get much benefit from it. I could take a candle and I attach it to the fire. I could take this candle and I'll go a mile away and use that fire somewhere else. And I could make it light somewhere else, or I could cook a chicken somewhere else. I could do anything somewhere else. Now, imagine that the Torah is like a huge bonfire. A huge bonfire. It's powerful. It's the source of all heat and fire that exists. Now, what do? The Torah now creates 613 candles. And we take 613 candles and we attach it to the bonfire, and we send it in 613 different places to put a little light over here, a little light over here, a little light over there. So that's really what it is. So you're taking some of that Torah, and it's going outside of the Torah, as it were, and it's creating a little light over there. And when you light a dark place, that's a tikkun. That's a correction. Whatever tikkun you need in whatever area. Let's say tzitzis, which is an easy one to explain, and we're going to have in a few weeks that mitzvah tzitzis. Tzitzis is one mitzvah of the 600 mitzvahs that's coming directly from the bonfire of Torah. Now, it makes a correction. What correction? Well, I don't want to get into great detail, but tzitzis, the correction of tzitzis is, it teaches you how to look at the world properly. We all have eyes that are very not healthy. Our eyes don't know how to look properly. Our eyes are used to looking at things superficially. So our eyes need a tikkun. The way we look at things, we need a tikkun. We need to fix things up in this little area. So you're putting on tzitzis, which I don't have time to explain now, but tzitzis makes a tikkun that now you look at the world in a different way. You look at the world a different way. You look at it more from an eternal point of view as opposed an internal point of view as opposed to an external point of view. And that's a tikkun. That's one of the tikkun we need. We all suffer from very bad spiritual eyesight. It's putting on tzitzis. It says, Ureisam also, you will see them. Usachartem is called. You'll remember all the mitzvahs. And you'll remember that what you see isn't necessarily what you get. And you have to look deeper. That's a very nice tikkun. But that's one tikkun of many tikkunim that need to be made. And that mitzvah is a candle that lights into my psyche to understand that I don't look at the world superficially. Again, and what else do you know about fire, a candle? Fire is something that converts energy, mass into energy. That's what fire is, mass into energy. So we look at we're taking mass, we're taking physical things and turning into a spiritual energy. But it's basically a candle that's far away. It makes a tikkun somewhere else. So a person could mistake, if you looked at each one of these little candles and didn't know that there was a source, you'd say it's 613 different, nice little tikkunim that don't necessarily have any kind of unified concept. But when you realize they're all coming from one fire, the Torah is or, it's a fire, that's the source. So, if I am busy doing a mitzvah, so where does that put me? That puts me far away from the source. Because the candle has now gone to a place that's dark, that needs tikkun, and that's where I'm at. I'm over here. I'm doing another mitzvah, I'm over here. Another mitzvah over here. I'm all over the place. So now, what unifies it? It's the learning of the Torah. Because the Torah is that bonfire. That is the unified whole of Hashem. So you see, when you're learning Torah, you're learning part of the unified part of Hashem. Again, that's what I'm saying. Learning Torah and doing mitzvahs. There's nothing wrong with doing mitzvahs. It's a wonderful thing to do. But if you don't learn Torah, you're not going to understand that unified whole. As he continues to explain. Shalom, like different mitzvahs are separated one from another. 2 lines from the bottom. Aver bottom, just like every body part. Shorim HaChaver is different than its next one. V'yeshu tafkid acher is a different job. Kein mitzvah satorah kol echad shem HaChaver. Every mitzvah is different than the next. Ubein kulam nishlemas kabbalas ol malchus shvus. Between all of them, you get the job done, and everything gets finished. Between all of them, you kind of accepted Hashem's yoke. But the truth is, when you're learning Torah, you're going right to the source again. You're going right to the source. Next page. Now you know the difference in a person whose main engagement in his life is learning Torah versus someone who's I just want to do the mitzvahs. Why? To have ben Torah. A ben Torah. Ben Torah means a person who's committed to learning Torah. She'ikar iska b'Torah. His main activity is learning Torah. Of course, he's doing mitzvahs too. He has to be doing mitzvahs. You're not doing mitzvahs that you learn, then you're not worth anything. But your main occupation is learning Torah. So lo rak shekari, it's not just he acquires knowledge and information. Elahu osek b'sugyas hayichud niskol. He's engaged with studying the topic of the unity of Hashem. Someone who's outside of the world of Torah, he's involved in correcting the world, he's fixing the world, he's doing good stuff, no question about it. But it's in all different areas. We can understand the imki, even though everybody has a portion in the wholeness of Shabbos. Everybody on their level grows on Shabbos. But you can't compare a Talmud Chacham because his whole engagement in Hashem is in Torah, which is the unity topic. The Knisas Shabbos, when he comes into Shabbos, because Shabbos is the same topic of unity. And that's how we know the rabbis say Talmud Chacham Shabbos Ikri. Talmud Chacham we call Shabbos. So we're just saying that you see this idea again in the area of Torah. Torah versus mitzvahs. Mitzvahs, you're all over the place. It's hard to see a unified whole in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But in Torah, since it's the source, so that Torah is a more unified approach, and the Talmud Chacham who learns this carries that unity, and that's what Shabbos is. Shabbos brings this unity. So therefore, that's why Talmud Chacham is also called Shabbos, because he looks at the world with a unified approach, because he's learning the unified Torah. Okay. So now, he's going to now get us into the next point, which is really an amazing point, about where does having children fit into this unity idea, and why ultimately there is an aspect, deep mystical aspect, of a husband and wife being intimate on Friday night. It all fits into this. Let's talk about another topic that relates to this, and this is giving birth to children. As we opened up, when man and woman, the first man and first woman were created, they said that the man will leave his family and cleave to his wife, and they will be one flesh. Again, unity. A single person is not unified. It's not unified. When you're married with another person and living together, a Torah lifestyle, you become one. There's a unity. I've already explained in other places. The creation of man is connected to that holy light that Hashem made on the first day, and He hid that light. The Yom Vav, because how do we know this? Because on the sixth day, when Hashem began to create the man, this light, that hidden light, began to shine again ad Motzei Shabbos Kodesh, until Motzei Shabbos is over. That's what the rabbis say. So now, this light, and man's creation go together. And this light that was created on the first day, certainly that's something with the unity of Hashem. Whatever was on the first day, remember, on the first day, what happened on the first day? Can you describe to me what happened on the first day? Imagine you had a film coverage from CNN on the first day of creation. We're here right there for you to report, people, men, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on the first day of creation. What would you see?
Black.
You wouldn't. I don't know if you'd see anything.
Like,
no, there's or. There's light, but not the light that you and I know. It's the light means the spiritual light. that spiritual light, in other words, what was the only reality on that day? Hashem. There's nothing other than Hashem after the first day. He just created this light, which means this spiritual reality in which one could enjoy the pleasure of the oneness of Hashem. Hashem was still clearly one after the first day because there really was still nothing else. All of a sudden came the second day. All of a sudden you got water, the water above, the water below. You got the sky. Whoa! It's all kinds of other things now. And it kept going that way, more and more and more, and different things, and different things, and different things, till the end of the sixth day. Whoa, there's a million things out there. Things look so not unified. But the first day was still complete unity. You know, in and out. There's nothing more in the reality of the world, whatever you want to call world is, than the light. That's it. The light and Hashem are one. The bonfire, it's one. Yeah?
The Torah.
Well, the Torah is part of that oneness. It's still, the Torah is Hashem's names. It's still only Hashem.
Yeah.
The Torah is not something outside of Hashem.
The blueprint.
But that's Hashem. The Kabbalah say that Torah is the name of Hashem. It's the reality of Hashem. So there's still no disunity. Okay, that's good. That's the first day. And that's why it says, look what it says. After every day, Vahi Erev, Vahi Boker, it was evening, it was morning, Yom. Now, without looking, what did it say? Yom what? Yom?
Yom Rishon.
Well, you'd think it would say Yom Rishon. Shouldn't that make sense to say Yom Rishon?
Yeah.
First day? Because the second day says Yom Sheni, second day. But it doesn't say it. It doesn't say it. V'lo Yom Rishon does not call it the Yom Rishon. It was called Yom Echad. It was even one day. What do you mean one day?
Created the day.
It's the first day. Why call it the first? The others are called second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Call the first the first. It's not called first. The first is called one. Day one. Why? Because there was only the unity of Hashem in the world. That's it. There was only oneness. There was nothing more. Yom Sheni means the second day already. Second day means there's a first, there's a second. Two already means more than one. There's not only one thing in this world now. Fine, but on the first day, it's not the first of many more. First means there's many more. No, it's just one. It's all Hashem's oneness. On that first day, the Or HaGanuz, that hidden light, which is just HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So that was only there. There was still oneness. Even though that was hidden now for the tzaddikim, for the future. And we can't use it now. It's too holy. But it hasn't changed. Has that light changed? It's the same light Hashem made on the first day. That reality of Hashem is still there. It's not revealed. Even now in our world, that light exists. That light, where is it? It exists. It certainly exists. But it's hidden. Where is it? I don't know. I can't find it. But it's there. I don't have the tools to find it. So now you see what's going on over here. That means there's an idea of unity, a powerful unity that exists, but I just can't see it. So that's what Hashem did. Hashem created a powerful unity that exists that we cannot see. So the human being is created in Hashem's image, and he's able to create a powerful unity that exists that he cannot see. The human being can replicate Hashem even in this. How is that possible? For this comes the topic of having children. Commotion inspire, as we'll explain. It's the same topic. The topic of one. Again, we're focused on this topic of one. One means, again, just like Hashem is one, we are one. Hashem only is perceived as one is when he stops working, so it all comes back to the oneness of Hashem. A human being only can experience that when he stops working as well. Fine. We also said learning Torah is one of the topics of oneness of Hashem. Now there's one more thing, the hidden light. The hidden light existed in the world at the same time that man came into the world. So man and the hidden light are one. So how does this happen? Now he's going to explain a beautiful idea. And this will really should help a person feel his oneness. Let's reflect. The we know the koach halada, the power of having children, giving birth. Hurak bechiyus koach hadas. That comes from the power of das, from living in the reality of the knowledge that you know. Because this is where the revelation of one's life that is rooted in the depths of a man is found. Meaning to say, even after the sin of man, where he was decreed to return back to the earth, and at that point, when man was decreed to die, that means he's a finite creature that's finished. So you figure he's gone, no more man. That is not the destruction of the form of the stature of man. Why? Because he leaves a second generation after. Even though this man is dead, he's not dead, because he's leaving children. Since man has incorporated with himself all the forces of creation, that's what we said on Shabbos at Yizkar. The man is like a zoo. He's got every force in the world. Wild tigers and bears and this and that, and a holy soul. Remember, the human being has all the 10 utterances of creation. He's a mini universe. He has to have that first, first utterance. And the first utterance created that infinite light, the Or HaGanuz. Every human being has the Or HaGanuz inside of him. The hidden light is inside of you. If we're a microcosm of the entire creation, that Or HaGanuz that hidden light is part of us. That remains forever. And that really gives life to the person under all circumstances. Because the depths of the life of a person can't be blemished by a sin. But gets hidden through the possibility of continuing generations. What he's saying is like this. We would mistakenly think that a human being has a very temporary life, and when he dies, he's finished. Done. And that's what the secular people feel. You live a certain life, you're dead, you're finished. But the truth of the matter is that's not possible. Because since man is a microcosm of all of creation, and part of all that creation is what? Is the hidden light. And the hidden light is forever. But it's hidden. So therefore, man, before he sinned, Hashem said, you're an eternal being. You're so powerful, you can never disintegrate. Remember, it's a very interesting rule that the Chovos HaLevavos teaches us. That anything made out of parts, by definition, is finite. Because once you could take something apart, you can further take it apart and apart and apart and apart and apart and apart, till the what do you call it? What's that scientific rule called? The law of where things fall apart. There's a fancy word for it. It's escaping my mind. The law of entropy. The law of entropy, entropy, means everything eventually goes to a state of disrepair. Everything breaks down. It's a law of entropy. Nothing lasts forever. Nothing. Tell me anything in this world can last forever. It'll decay, it'll spoil. Law of entropy. Human being was not susceptible to the law of entropy because he had a godly soul inside of him that would refuse to let him ever, and a godly soul is eternal. And that was part of that light. That light is eternal. When man sinned, it created a schism between that light and himself, then he dies. Once he dies, he's finished. Anything that's dead can't be one. One can never be broken down into a smaller number, and therefore is forever. Hashem is one. Hashem can't be broken down. Once you can break something down into pieces, then that pieces gets broken down to further pieces, then it disintegrates and it's finished. But the human being, this is where we shouldn't make a mistake on who we are and what we aren't. Human beings, I'm going to die. I'm just this fragment. I'm a fragment of this world. I'm a meaningless piece in a cog on this wheel. That's really nothing. When I die, I'm finished. But no, the truth is you are really one. One means eternal existence that is forever. So where was that oneness? That was in the hidden light. And that light is hidden. So the hidden light that Hashem made, that hidden light, that's an amazing light. that really could give us the sense of everything that Hashem is one. Where is it right now? Where is it right now? I don't know. Does it exist? Absolutely. Is there accessibility to it? Theoretically, yes. So now, that fact, when will it come for sure in the next world? Everyone's going to get it. Maybe even on Shabbos.
Shabbat.
So now, but it's more. But it's an Or HaGanuz. How about right now? How about right now? Does Or HaGanuz exist? Yes. Do I know it exists? I don't see it. That's God's Or HaGanuz. What about our? We have to have a little bit of everything. We have to have a little bit of Or HaGanuz. That light, that special light, that's a hidden light. So what's this hidden light? The hidden light is in the fact that you can have children. It's hidden. You look at children and we impute many characteristics to children, but we forget the most important thing. A child is you. A child is you, has your DNA. And therefore, that infinite reality that will never stop is in you, but it's hidden. It's hidden. It's hidden. It's that light that's hidden. And how do we know? Does Chazal tell us? Ubra karadavu, a son, a child, is called like the foot of the parents. V'tachas avosecha hayu banecha, and the pasuk says, under your, to replace your fathers are your children. Ub'makam avu da'avokasi, and people come in the place, as it were, of the father. In other words, we always continue, but it's hidden. Having children is the manifestation of the hidden light that's within every human being. Think about it. That qualities that you have continue in your children and children and children and children and children. So you really continue. That's why it's a big tragedy when a person doesn't leave any descendants, because then it looks like the Or HaGanuz stopped. It's not there because there's no children. All right, we have to come on to other interpretations to see maybe how it still exists. But the clearest understanding that the Or HaGanuz, the hidden light, is really there, but we can't tell that it's there, is the fact that we have children. And even after we're dead and buried in the ground, where you say, listen, the guy's finished, he's dead, there's nothing left, you're totally gone, the Or HaGanuz is still hidden. And it's still very much alive in your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren. That's that Or HaGanuz. So now, let's go to the next page, Lamed. Yes, okay, let's go a little bit more now. HaChochma, there's a pasuk says, HaChochma techaya balel. Wisdom keeps its master alive. If you live Torah, you stay alive. Pirush, what does that mean? Shekoch HaChochma hu etzem sugis hachaim. The power of Chochma, that is the essential topic of life. Now, I got to figure, what is Chochma? What is Chochma? Chachma is something, and if you look at it in the Kabbalah terms, we start in the Spheros, Chachma, Bina, Das. The first one of the Spheros is Chachma. Okay, there's Keser, but that's like the before stage. But anything beyond that, remember, Keser is still all just totally theory. It's like still nothing you can put your hand on. Chachma is real wisdom. Now, Chachma, we're going to see, is something that really comes from nothing. Something that comes from nothing. Because where does that first idea come from? If you take the word Chachma, change the letters, it spells the word Koach Ma. Koach Ma. The strength of what? Power of what? In other words, if you think about it, like where do ideas come from? Where does wisdom come from? A lot of times it just came. No, but it just comes. You get a brilliant idea. Where did the brilliant idea come from? Where did it come from? I just had a brilliant idea.
Brain.
The brain, but was there a second before the idea was there? Nothing. Nothing. Then the idea comes, and boom, there's something there. So Chachma is the greatest expression of something coming from nothing. Yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. Right? And that's what he's saying. That Chachma is really the topic of life, because life means bringing something into existence. So Chachma is like, imagine, you don't know anything and now you know something. So where'd that come from? Just came. In your brain, there was nothing. Now, it's in there. Where'd it come from? So someone can teach you, but sometimes you just comes on its own. Came on its own. That's what Chachma is. It's like an act of creation. Chachma is an act of creation. V'gam koach ha'holada, same thing, the power of childbirth. L'kuach mikoach ha'chachma, that comes from the Chachma within the soul of a person. We'll explain. Wisdom is something coming from nothing. Right? Chachma is the root of everything. Chachma is the first spark of thought. But it's not developed until you have Bina. Bina takes that first thought and develops it. Right? Chachma is his first idea. It's an idea. Chachma is getting to very deep ideas of thought. Ideas of thought that we don't spend time breaking these things down. Chachma is the very first kernel of an idea before you really have it totally formulated in your own mind even what it really is. Then it goes to the stage of Bina, and Bina now takes it and makes it something real. Interesting. When we talk about Chachma is called the Abba, and Bina is called the Ima. That's true at many levels. But on the simple Chachma and Bina have to go together. Because if you don't have Chachma next to Bina, you could be a crazy person. Chachma is that first part of the brain that gives you the spark of the idea, but it's still nothing you can really say and express in a tangible way that people understand what you're talking about. But then Bina, which is connected with it, takes that first spark, develops into something that becomes practical. Chachma, Bina. But Chachma is that first spark of life. That first spark of something. Somebody say, I got this idea, but I just can't quite, if we could somehow take this thing and make it like this. I don't know, I just can't put it into words right now. I can't get a handle on what I'm trying to say and think. And then you think a little more, and then it gets developed, and then you have something you really can present. That's Chachma Bina. It's really the same way a man and a woman work in many ways, but on the simplest level, having children. What happens? So the male produces the sperm. Now the sperm itself is yesh me'ayin. It's something from nothing. It just comes. It gets deposited into the woman. Now the woman, what does the woman produce? She is able to fertilize that. And now takes something that's a spark and makes it real. That's the Ima. The Ima takes... A sperm by itself isn't going to do anything. You have 1 million sperms, right? What do they say? That a male is capable of producing thousands and thousands of sperms. Right? But if you don't have a woman to give one good fertilized egg, you're going to have it garnished. Right? So the woman now is the Bina, so to speak, where you take that first creation that really isn't stable, isn't anything, comes Bina and says, now it has stability. This manifests itself beyond childbirth, obviously. Right? A husband brings a lot of raw knowledge into a situation that really isn't practical, and the wife has to make it practical. That's how it always works. The husband, husband will bring in to the house. The house has zero money. He works all day, boom, he puts down $1,000. Well, $1,000 itself, we don't know what's going to happen with that $1,000. You can go to Aurelia and lose it. Right? You can buy us a Narishkeit. The woman says, give me the $1,000 and I'm going to make it into gold. Right? All of a sudden, she's making challah, she's making fish, she's doing this, making a coat and this and that. And for that $1,000, look what she's made. Right? The husband only is good at bringing in the raw material. The wife is the one who develops it. That's the same idea, Chachma and Bina. Chachma is that first koach, that first power that's there. And that's the same thing with childbirth. And same thing with birth. The man brings the first thing, it looks like it comes from nowhere. And that's what it says in the Mamaros. It says, Yehior, let there be light. That's that first spark. That first light is clearly so discernible because it's the first thing that came in the world that had nothing. Shemiyad should be stalik sivas or, because once the source of the light leaves, hunelam, it gets hidden, v'niyah choshen, and it's dark. So light's something that is very quick to be discerned. It's the first yesh me'ayin, the first something from nothing. The koach zakol b'kumas adam, and that all is in a human being. A human being has that first light. V'hu, that's a typing mistake. V'hu koach hachachma shelo. That's the power, not moach. Koach hachachma shelo. That's the power of his chachma. Umisham nimshach koach halodak yidu. And from that comes the power of having children, as we understand. So in other words, here's the point we're making over here. Superficially, when you look at the birth of a child, what do you think this represents? And this is really very good when you look in Rashi. You look at Rashi, he says this really clearly. When you look at it, you have a husband and a wife, right? Now you have a child. Okay, how much is in your family? 3, yeah? No. It's just a bigger one. It's a bigger one. Because really, when a husband and wife get married, it's a 1. And if you look at Rashi, I don't have the Chumash here, but Rashi says, how do they become 1? So when they have a child. That's what Rashi says. How do they become 1? They become 1 flesh. How do you become 1? When you have a child. So the simple meaning is to say, okay, you know what? That is something that now unifies us. But that's not 1, that's unity. Okay, now we have something in common. But it's much deeper. When you now have a child, it is the real 1, because it's taking us back to that original 1, which is that first light that was hidden. And that is the hidden light where keeps us going on and keeps us living forever. That keeps me as 1. So having children is not, like in the Goyish world, how many people are in your household? So if you have 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids, we have 9 in our household. No, every child is another extension of the 1. It just keeps the reality going on. Because it all came from Chachma, Koach, that first source that comes, and what you think is really adding, it's the hidden light that continues within man. Because that's when man was created. Man was created with that in the time where the hidden light existed. And my infinite reality, which is part of being 1, is hidden in my children. So having children, really, if you look at it deeply, is just a solidification of the oneness that a person has. It's really taking me back to that first 1. That first 1, when the first light came, it was still V'yom Echad. It was 1 day. It was still all the unity of Hashem. It was all unity of Hashem. There was nothing else but Hashem, just that light. And that human being every human being is capable of reflecting that which Hashem has. So how do we have that? It's with that first coming out, and that's in that child. That child represents the activity of making that Or HaGanuz remain in the child, in the person. Yeah, question?
So it's also making us 1 with Hashem.
Yes, whenever you do anything like that makes you 1 with Hashem, for sure. So, just like, for example, when you, during the week, you're doing so many things in a week, and at the end of the week it looks like the week is dead, comes along Shabbos, and all the powers of life return to the source of life. It comes back to the source of its life. Same idea. And that's what he's saying. That's the power of having children, is the power of oneness. It makes your 1 more 1. There's more 1 to your 1. Because although you're heading towards an external course of death and internment into the earth, but at the end of the day, what's going to happen? There's a bigger expansion of the 1. A bigger expansion of the 1. Because it's all coming from you. And it's the same you that's staying forever. And it all came from what? That power of creating Yesh Me'ayin, something from nothing. Something from nothing is 1. And that's what you're engaged in, the something from nothing quality. So if that's the case, and having children is the ultimate oneness, so now we understand the next part. But said Navi Masha Omerzal. Now we understand the Gemara Ksuva says, "Onas Talmud Chacham Erev Shabbos Omer Shabbos." The time of intimacy for Talmud Chacham is every Friday night, because the Talmud Chacham already said is the model of Chachma. Chachma comes from Ayin, is the first act of creation, and the Talmud Chacham reflects that, and therefore he's meant to be intimate on that day where the light is stronger, which is Friday night. The Kivan, the Talmud Chacham Oisik Batera, since the Talmud Chacham learns Torah, who Oisik Vishro Yisbarach V'Yuchad, he's involved always with the oneness of Hashem. Legalos Levar Yichud Yisbarach, he's always there to reveal the oneness of Hashem. Sholchenu Shayach LeShabbos Yosher, he's more applicable to Shabbos because Shabbos all brings out the 1. Therefore, he's obligated to engage in this topic of making oneness because he's unique to this idea of oneness. And that's why he puts himself in the image of Hashem, to be similar to Hashem's activities, to be engaged in the topic of unity. All reality comes from that. And since that is his whole reality. So, it's interesting. If you look at the bracha, Birchas HaTorah, when you make the brachas on the Torah first thing in the morning, Baruch Hashem Achalam Asher Kedisham Savasanu Lasot B'Divrei Sor, command us to engage in learning the Torah. Then we say Varev Na Hashem Elokeinu Es Divrei Sorascha. Hashem should make the Torah sweet in our mouths. There was a B'Finu V'Fi Cholam Chol Yisrael, and then it says what? But V'Niyah Tzatzaenu V'Tzatzaetzen, our children and our grandchildren should be engaged in learning Torah. What are you missing around your grandchildren to miss learning Torah? How about when I put tefillin? So our children, our grandchildren should put on tefillin? You make a Birchas HaTorah, right? I'm making a blessing on the Torah. You can't take pleasure from the Torah without enjoying it. You can't learn Torah without making a bracha. So make a bracha. You commanded me to learn the Torah. Fine. Is that enough? No. Make it sweet. Okay, make it sweet. But not only sweet in my mouth, my children and my grandchildren shall all learn Torah Lishma. What does that have to do with the bracha? It's a bracha of Torah. Why mix around having grandchildren in a bracha of Torah? It's sweet and nice. We don't say that by any other mitzvah. You're shaking lulav. So I should shake lulav. My children should shake lulav. My grandchildren. You ever think about it? The bracha doesn't make any sense. But the answer is it's all the same topic. Because Torah is the unity of Hashem. And your unity really comes from having children. That's what your unity is. That is what unity is. To continue that which is there in that hidden light. That is your children. That's why, there's something inside of a human being that eats away at him when a child doesn't turn out the way they want it to turn out. And you can't always put your finger on it. A lot of times you just say, well, it's a disappointment. But deep down, there's something disturbing your unity, your achdus. And that's the problem. And that's why these are all topics that all fit in the same. Shabbos is bringing in all these things that seem to be so separated and brings them into one. See, Hashem is really one. Hashem is really just one. And we spoke at length last week, and we are really just one. Not, I'm a terrible parent, I'm a good parent, or what kind of parent I am. No, you're a good person, you're one. Now we're adding today that to the degree that you're learning Torah, that Torah is the names of Hashem, is the unity of Hashem. Because at the end of the day, it's all the will of Hashem. That's all Torah is the will of Hashem. And the will of Hashem only has one will. Right? And when you learn the Torah properly, you see it's only one will of Hashem. So the Talmid Chacham who learns Torah is hooked into that one will of Hashem. The light of Hashem that He created the first day, when Hashem created that light, there was only Him and nothing else. There was no confusion even after the light existed. Again, what we're saying is, when I'm doing things, it looks like I'm all over the place, there's no unity. When I stop doing, the unity comes back. On Shabbos, Hashem stops working, His unity comes back. I stop working, my unity comes back. And there's a lot of other things that reflect my unity, and that is the hidden light. The hidden light is, even if I've made something, I'm still not confused because I still have that hidden light there. And the human being has that hidden light, but how is that reflected? It's reflected when you do that which is like that, and that is what? Having that child. That child came from that first drop. That first drop that was just the first thing, something from nothing. At that first stage of something from nothing, it's still clear, it's not different than the source. When things starts evolving, then it seems disunited. But when you've got the source and only the one thing that comes from the source, you don't feel that it's still disunited. When you look at your kid, you know that your kid came from you. And that's clear. There's nothing else but you in that kid, so to speak, and your wife. But you're all one also. So now that you have that is the greatest unity that continues to exist within yourself. And theoretically, you want that to stay that way. Right? And that's why Friday night, which is the time of unity, is the time to bring these little beautiful neshamas into the world. at a time of unity. Yeah?
What happens if you're a single parent? Still a parent.
Then, this mitzvah you can't do. What are you asking in terms of what?
Well, you talk about unity being the man and the wife. What happens if a woman is 38 and decides to get impregnated and have a kid by herself?
Okay, those are deep shadows that I don't want to answer right now.
Okay.
They're not really things that should be done. It should be done with a husband and a wife, right? With a husband and a wife. That's the way it should be done. And we don't want to get into those are complicated shilas. Those are complicated shilas. I don't want to go there. And not all of them are not every type of fertility treatments are halachically accepted. There are many that are, but there are others that aren't. And preferably it should be with one's own sperm and reinserted and things like that. But again, these are things in life. What do you do if you're not married? It's a problem. I'm saying it's a problem. It's a handicap. There are handicaps in spiritual development, and this is a handicap. But again, even if you're not even having children, the fact that husband and wife, what after menopause? You shouldn't be together Friday. You should still be together Friday night. In a mystical sense, well beyond we can understand, every time a husband and wife are together, even though they can't have children, they're still producing some kind of spiritual offspring in other realms. Ideas that we cannot understand. So you're still producing something like that. Okay? So that's why when we talk about the blessings of Torah, and we're discussing Torah, we also talk about the continuity of our generations. It's interesting. There's a Yiddish word for a grandchild. What is it? How do you call it? Anikel. Okay, do you know where that word came from? Anikel? It's Yiddish. Yiddish isn't like another language. Yiddish, everything means it. Just like I told you what kishka means, right? Kishka, now you know it means what? Kishka, Hashem gave you a kiss. That's kishka, right? So what's anikel? Anikel stam. It's a good word to know when you go to someone who has a grandchild. Anikel is a contraction of the two words. When Moshe saw the burning bush, he saw the burning bush and he saw that what? Einenu ukal. Einenu, it is not ukal consumed. Say einenu ukal fast. Anikel. That means you're not consumed. Even when we get to 120, we'll die, and it looks like we're consumed. Einenu ukal. You're not consumed. Anikel. That's what it says. Anikel. Stam, a word. In a Goyish world, grandson. What is grandson? Think about the word grandson. What is that supposed to mean? You had a son. Okay. You have a son. I have 5 sons. They're sons. Oh, my grandsons. Those are grand. And what does that mean? It's a grand son? What does grand in English mean? We had a grand time, a grand old time. What does that mean? Like really nice? So it's a really nice son. It's not my son, it's a really nice son. So anikel, you see, it's like, that really says the word. Anikel means, einenu ukal, I'm not consumed. If you have a kid, that doesn't mean anything yet, because the kid doesn't have kids, you're still in trouble. But when you have already a 3rd generation, that means I'm not being consumed, which is all part of the eternal nature of the Jew. It's all part of one. That's why you find so many interesting halachas. It says people are jealous of everybody except 2 people. There's 2 people you're never jealous of if you're a healthy person. Who are the 2 people you're never? Children and students. And they share the same common denominator. Students come from your first koach, and your students are learning the Torah. The Torah is that same oneness. The right hand is not jealous of the left hand. You know why? Because it's one. It's one. My right hand jealous of my left hand. My left hand jealous of my right hand is able to open the door quicker than the left. Thank God I can do it. We're on the same team. We're one. We're one. A parent is never jealous of a child. They're on the same team. It's me. It's me. How can I be jealous of myself? A student's learning Torah. We're all learning this one Torah of Hashem. It's one. If you're finding jealousy, then there's big problems. So because it's all one. So that's all part of the oneness. Your real oneness. It's not looked as Again, when I'm doing a lot of different things, I could be fooled what I think I am. I don't know if I'm this, I don't know if that, I'm all confused. You have a child, that's it. Everything you ever wanted in life is so focused. You know when you have a child, oh, I'm going to do things right now. Well, should we keep kosher? Should we not keep kosher? Should we better just not? Now that we have a children, we've really thought about this issue. Before you have a child, you're very all over the place. I want to do this, I want to do that. There's so many things I want to do. All of a sudden you have a child, you start really focusing, why am I really living? You start getting back, let those energies come back to the source and realize, now that I'm bringing a new child in the world, what do I really want for that child? What do I really want for myself? It gives you a chance to refocus to that oneness of who you really are. Now, unfortunately, that sometimes only happens for a little while. And then you get carried away with all the other mishigasim, and the whole world tells you, and your child gets the disunited person that you are yourself. But really, if you're focusing, many people, they want better for their children than they want for themselves. Even though I don't learn a lot of Torah, I want my child to know more Torah than me. Because that's really what you want to be. Really, a child is, what do we call the child? Is the second edition of the book that you wrote. Your life is the book of your life. It's the first edition. And many of us have a lot of mistakes, but that's why we make a second edition. Oh, I made a mistake here, I made a mistake. We're making a second edition. We skipped a few words on page 17. It was a spelling mistake on page 19. Second edition corrects all that. So really we want our children to be the second edition. Right? Now the first edition has many mistakes and much disunity within our own lives. But the child, I'm going to make sure everything is perfect with this child. Really what you're doing is want to make sure everything's perfect with yourself. So that is unity. That's what a child is. That's what the child brings that. And that's why you're engaged in bringing children into the world on a Shabbos. Because that's what they have unity. Now many people who bring children into the world, they're not doing it for the right reasons, and it will create more disunity. So that's why having a child, being involved in bringing a child into the world on a Friday night, that is the ultimate unity that you can do. Okay, let's finish this up. V'zeu ma shenikra Shabbos Kodesh. This is why we call Shabbos Kodesh, holy. Why? Ki rechsiv ki kodesh elechem, it's holy to you. So what does it mean? Well, Pirush Gemara explains. The ikdish masis malacha, that your actions are holy. What does that mean? The Kodesh, what does holiness mean? Perusho mufar shemuvto. Holiness means separated. V'aprishim malacha hi hashvisa. And separating from work is stopping work. So at that point, Shabbat, in that stopping of work, Misgala Koach Yichud, we said it reveals the power of the one, because all the energy comes back. Okay, so all the energy comes back, the Koach HaChochma, and the power of wisdom, Shureish is called Insem, which is the beginning of everything that comes, because everything comes from Chachma. Kulam b'Chachma sees everything comes from Chachma. Gamhini, Chris Kodesh, that's also called Kodesh. Chachma is called Kodesh. Any first thing is called Kodesh. There's a rule. First things are called Kodesh, are called holy. Ukamo shekitsha haTorah kol davar shureishis. Torah makes everything first holy. Bechor, a firstborn child is holy. Firstborn son is holy. Why is he holy? Because that's the first. That's the first thing that came out. Truma, your first crops. Chala, you separate the chala. That's all holy. So to wisdom is the first thing that came out of your brain. That's also called holy. Every beginning is something from nothing that most accurately reflects the connection to Hashem. That's the point. What does holy mean? It's separated. The first fruit you get that, wow, that came from Hashem. Once you have 7 tons of tomatoes, you forget about that very fast, right? First child, that came from Hashem. The first piece of challah, that came from Hashem. That first is a hilada, it's a birthing, it's a beginning, which is chachma. That still is very much connected to that source. And that's why Shabbos is called Shabbos Kodesh, because all the energies come back to Hashem, and you see the firstness of all that. V'akol osa sugya, it's all the same takid. The power of chachma in a person, the power of birth. It parallels the statement of let there be light. It's the beginning of something from nothing in the creation. Shabbos, and resting on Shabbos. Everything comes back to its root. Which is the wisdom. Shima Kor Kulam, which is the root of everything. Because at the end of the day, it all comes back to Chachma. And the conduct that Hashem has with the whole world, the mind thing is separate. It's all part of what Shabbos is. And the resting makes it Shabbos. In other words, something is called holy when it is totally separated from everything else, and it clearly shows you how it's connected to Hashem. So a lot of things we do during the week, since it's so much of what we do and it's all over the place, it's hard to feel any kedusha there. When something's a first, any type of a first is always inherently kaddish, because it's inherently part of connected to Hashem. So therefore, when you stop doing all your activities during the week, it goes back to the root, and the root is the very first midah, which is chachma. That first aspect that shows what you really are. And that shows your total connection to Hashem and that unity that you have. And therefore all those things all fit in. Children, Torah, all these things are all these firsts. And those firsts, always remember, the first time you had something, you always felt very special and close to Hashem. Didn't you? First time. And then after a while it wasn't special and it got away. So you got it. So you did a lot of things during the week. Bring it all back to that first stage. That first stage, that very beginning, that very excitement, that very connection to the source. That is what is holy. That's what makes things so close to Hashem, and that what brings you the unity that you have in your life. That really, that first beginning is always a happy beginning. Right? And that's just as things go on, right? So the same thing in marriage. You can be married for a long time, right? So last night you looked at a chassan and kala. Never going to be happier than that first day. It's the first. It's the first moment that they're married. Right? Maybe that's what everybody thinks. Everybody says so much kedusha in the room. Go to chuppah. You felt there's kedusha in the room. Why do you feel kedusha the first day? When you're married for 50 years, you don't feel that kedusha. It should be more kedusha, but you don't. Why? Because the first, this one's giving everything they have. This is giving everything they have. It's just starting. It's the first chachma, the first koach ma. There's so much potential. So much is going to happen. They're just forming that new neshama is happening right now. It's just in the beginning stage. There's so much kedusha. And, one day goes to the next, to the next, to the next. You're already married 35 years. There's so many things going on, so many different places, all over the place. It gets all bogged down in conflict and this and that. So I always say, if your marriage is in trouble, what should you do? Go play the marriage video, the wedding video. Go back to that first. That's really what Shabbos is. It's really, just like you want to help a bad marriage, go watch the wedding video. Shabbos is watch the wedding video. Go back to the first. Go back to the beginning. Go back to when we were with Hashem at Har Sinai. When we started. When we started, it was the very beginning. It was so pure and it was so close to who and what you really were. Right? And that's really, when you look at a child, that really is close to what you really were when you brought that child in the world. You have to remember, when you have the child, it started from when you brought him into the world. You can never forget that part. You look at the child and say, wow, what a beautiful thing. But where did he start from? Where did that little bundle of joy start from? That very first yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. That was the most holiest thing. So that we have to remember on Shabbos, that everything we've done and the week gets so hard and depressing and this and that. If we just bring it all back to the beginning, to be under that chuppah, as it was before, and there's a chuppah in everything you do in life, then you go, that really was beautiful. And that really is, at the end of the day, a husband loves the wife loves the husband, all these things are there, but all these details make it so hard to see it. Take it back to the beginning. That's what Shabbos is. That's what having children is. Then you're able to have that connection to Hashem. And that's the hidden light. The hidden light really is, there's so much happiness in your life. But it's hidden. It's so hidden. You look at an anicle. So when you have an anicle, why do grandparents like anicle so much? It doesn't make any sense. An anicle can do no wrong, right? No matter what they do, your kids, everything's wrong with your kids, right? He's bad. You never listen to this. The anicle can do no wrong. Why? Because you see in that anicle, einenu ukal. And when a Zaidi learns with his anicle, then it's mamish the reishi shivareshis. It's the first of the first. It's everything. You got everything there. And when a Zaidi learns with a grandchild, it's a more special relationship. What do you mean a kid can do anything wrong? He's a spoiled kid. He's mischievous. He's my anicle. He's talking. It's my anicle. Can do nothing wrong. Right? And then it will call because I never can be destroyed. That's the Or HaGanus. That's the hidden light that you had all the whole time. You just don't see it. So sometimes when you get an anicle, you get a little drop of that Or HaGanus. You know, it was so hard to raise this kid. My kid was a pain in the neck. For 25 years I had to take care of him. He was on drugs. He was on this. He went off the derech. He was that. Things straight on. All of a sudden you're holding an anicle in your hands. Right, so where did that come? It came all the way from the first drop 35 years ago when you had that first kid. It's all there. Oh, and that kid, that baby is so pure. He hasn't done anything wrong yet. Right, so really isn't that what you are? Isn't that what your children were? That's really what's there. It's completely holy. So you get a little, that's the Or HaGanus. That's the hidden light. That is only reserved for the tzaddikim. Sometimes Hashem brings it up, and that's why I think having a grandchild, it's not logical, the explanation. It defies it. You can't give me a logical reason why you love your anicles. That's the soulful reason, because then it will come, and that's the Or HaGanus. We should all be zocheh to experience this Or HaGanus. Okay, shkaya.